Did you know that anytime you are doing art, painting, writing, singing, dancing, you are channeling? Yes, art is channeling. And my guest today is a channel because she is an artist and she works with, well, she works with kitties. This is her oracle deck. It's called Spirit Cats. She also works with nature spirits. And so we're going to talk about all of this exciting stuff. Get pumped to be able to just get inspired and play because I have on this podcast Nicole Piar. We're going to have a great time and I can't wait to share all of this with you. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the Charmed Life podcast. This podcast is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And I am your host. My name is Trisha Carr. Well, before I bring on my guest, I do have a couple of really exciting things to share with you. A couple of announcements, if you will. First of all, as I am doing this live podcast, and hello to those of you who are either live, please say hello. Tell us where you're watching from, what you have to ask or share about the topic that we're talking about. So drop a comment there. And then, of course, if you're listening on the podcast in replay, welcome to you too. We're so excited that you're here with us. I'm going to bring on my guest here in a moment. And I wanted to just chat about a couple of things that are happening right now in the world of what I'm sharing with you guys. And one of those things is that I am doing a workshop with my dear, amazing friend. Her name is Stephanie C. Weinman, and it is the Witchcraft Workshop. It is a really cool combination of a workshop and a course because starting on the not the 24th. It's on Monday of whenever I'm doing this. Is that the 14th? Yeah, the 14th, I think it is. You're actually going to get a lot of, not all of, course material so you can start working through it on your own. And then we actually meet live for a 3-hour workshop and we will be presenting more material then, including group rituals. We're going to do some coven crafting. So that live class is on October 27th, but you want to sign up now because there is an early witch discount. It's $33 off and I have put the link right there in the comments for you. It's really so full, so rich of amazing. Here is the link, and it's in the comments right now. Witchy Love is the coupon code for that $33 off. You'll have access to the content for a year. There are rituals, there are PDFs, there are classes. It's going to be so fun and so empowering and so what we need right now to be able to harness our energy and point it to something positive. That's what we have. Now, one other thing I want to mention in so far as what I'm offering is I have the final round of founding members for Astral Mastery. Now, a lot of you have heard me talk about that. I'm going to leave you to just check out the link either in the comments or in the description. The founding members of Astral Mastery get to have access to the course, including the live classes, forever. So that round of founding members is going to be concluding soon. Oh my gosh, we have amazing stuff going on. But again, I don't want to take too much time on that because I wanted to mention one more thing, which is my PSA, my public service announcement that I've been mentioning the last few times on the podcast, and that is for the Balam Foundation. It's so perfect for me to talk about this as I welcome my guest on. Balam Foundation is a cat rescue that is run by and founded by my friend Fedra, who has this wonderful work, this ministry even, where they actually provide medical services for cats and dogs in the most impoverished areas in Mexico. And then there is also a cat rescue organization. So if you're watching on the video, you'll see here I'm sharing a reel of Fedra with a bonded pair of kittens, and she really, really needs a home for these. Now, if you're like, well, I don't live in Mexico, I live in the United States, most of the cats are adopted to the United States. This is how this foundation works. And of course, you might imagine that the bonded pairs of kittens are the hardest to place. But don't you want a couple of beautiful kitties? So the ones that she has here in this reel are Lynx and Vaca. Vaca has her cow spots, and Lynx has a bobbed tail or no tail at all. They're amazing. They're beautiful. And this is just a work that's on my heart. So please do check out the Balam Foundation if you're ready to adopt some kittens, or if you can donate. Any little thing will help, because this work is really amazing that they are doing, and they need all the support they can get. If it's $1, if it's $5, anything will help. So check out the Balam Foundation. And without further delay, welcome to the podcast, Nicole. So great to connect with you. By the way, did I say your last name correctly? We rushed to get on the broadcast.
Yes, it's just PR, like the letters.
I did. Okay, yeah. I said it right. Did? Okay, good.
Yep.
I always clear people's names before I say it, so I didn't get a chance to. So happy to finally meet you. You sent me a deck of your cards, Spirit Cats. How long ago? Like 5 years ago?
That was pretty long ago. I don't remember when I sent it to you, but I self-published them through a Kickstarter in 2016. So
amazing.
That was quite a
Congratulations.
Long time ago. Yeah.
You self-published them. I love that so much.
Yeah.
These are beautiful. So I'm going to just show these off a little bit before I let you talk, so that people can. And I know you have a new Kickstarter and a new deck coming out. So everyone, she's a watercolorist. And these images, the people that are on the video can see some of these images. They are so beautiful, so breathtaking, and so soulful. And this deck is Spirit Cats, and they have beautiful messages on the back. Basically, cats who are incarnated are already spirit guardians, right? They're already spirit guides for us. And so then the spirit animal of cats, you've captured so many beautiful energy frequencies about them. So those of you who are listening, the images are so beautiful. They're watercolors. They're, again, very emotional, very feminine, very dynamic. I'm going to stop bragging and just say hello officially. How are you? Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
I'm so glad to be here. This is amazing. Yeah, that was my very first deck with Spirit Cats. And then in 2022, I released Witch Cats. And that would have actually been, both decks actually didn't realize I was making decks as I was making them. Speaking of the channeling process, but with Spirit Cats, I actually started out just opening up a container like a ritual container, to paint organically and just see what wanted to come through. And as I went further into it, these magical cats started to appear, and each one had an energy that they were like, as I was painting them and meeting them through painting them, because I didn't necessarily, for most of them I didn't have them in my mind first. They sort of appeared to me through the painting process, and then they would speak to me and share their energy imprint and the healing qualities that they had. And sometimes I would just keep the painting in my space and be with it and feel that shift. And usually it was a healing that I needed in that moment. And then in turn, I think once I started sharing them with other people, and eventually they became a deck, it was like other people were able to receive those same healing energies from them. So I do think it was this beautiful trajectory of that. They came to me as I needed them. Just how actually real cats often show up into your life just when you need them. When you need that little guardian angel in your life, a lot of times they show up on your doorstep. So
always, yeah. They show up on my doorstep, or I have my favorite. It's so great because I have my favorite path that I walk in my neighborhood, and it's my favorite path because I know where the certain kitties are, and I have a couple of versions of it because there's like many. I know many of the cats in the 5-mile radius around my house. Yeah. But just look at that. They're actually being these guides to help me to do like my exercise, my body movement. And sometimes I'll be so tired, or I've run out of time that day and I'm just hungry, but I'll tell my husband, I'm just going to go say hi to Tyler and Popo and I'll be right back. It's just like a mile walk then.
I love that.
It works though, it helps.
There's actually a few cats in both my Witch Cats and my Spirit Cat decks that are cats that did appear, just, showed up on my walks through my neighborhood. There's one cat that's actually in the Spirit Cat deck. And it was a cat that I actually, even though I walk every day through my neighborhood, I hadn't seen this cat before. And I don't think I really saw it since, but it just was this beautiful little cat. And it was turned away from me, but it had its head turned back and it was looking at me, and it was in this portal of like flat, like there was like an archway of flowers and plants, and it was about to like go through this, like it was kind of like dark and down some steps, but it was like this beautiful portal. And it just gave me that image, just really gave me this feeling of that moment when we're on a threshold. And then I was feeling into the way that cats, you know, how they kind of pause on thresholds often.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah,
do I
they're
want to
like,
go
check
in
this out.
or out, in or out? And they're, you know, and just thinking about that, how it reflects in our own lives when we're right there, and how can we relax into those threshold moments and be okay with that? Oh, maybe it takes us some time to step through, and you know, maybe it's okay that we pause there, but we still don't turn back. Eventually we go through, but we have our own timing, and just being in that sort of in between space on that edge, just relaxing into that. And so sometimes I feel like there was little cats that would appear in my real life that would also be sending me messages. And so some of those ended up in the deck as well. Some of the
Well, yes, I the thing is animals and nature, all of nature, you know, their home frequency is more natural, which more natural means more spiritual, more unified, and that makes them these open vessels for divine energy. So this is why animals or nature showing up, you can take a moment to scry the environment. There might be a squirrel, there might be a cat, there might be a leaf. And if you allow your heart to open to it, there's some kind of beautiful message for you if you have your heart open to allow it to come in. And so it's like, you know, they can just catch the wave of whatever spirit and the ecosystem of the spiritual landscape wants to communicate to you. So that's, I love that. And
yeah.
I know from, they know it too, because you, as you know, or maybe the people know in the audience, I'm an animal communicator. Animals will very matter of fact be like, oh yeah, of course, I tried to show her the threshold by standing there. Like
Yeah.
they'll just say things like that. Just like, yeah. Why is that
Yeah.
confusing for you? Like, of course I did that.
Exactly.
Why is that amazing?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't I do that?
I definitely, I love the way you put that, scrying the environment, because I do feel like that is like, I'll take these magical walks and I will like look for, you know, are the flowers speaking to me? Is the sky, is there a bird that, you know, flew by that has something to share with me? So I do feel like that's, it's something that I've been doing. I grew up in a really rural, like forest environment, and I
Oh,
had a lot of
lucky.
alone time in the woods as a small child. And so I feel like I kind of tuned into that, was my first kind of connection to the spirit realm, I think, was actually through nature, because I felt so much support coming from like the trees. There was a tree that was outside of the window of my childhood bedroom, and I would always speak to the tree, and I would write little letters to the tree and then bury it in the
Oh,
roots of the tree.
so sweet.
And I do feel like I developed these friendships with like the local nature spirits around me.
Yeah.
And I feel like they really are my neighbors, my friends, my support. And I do every morning, I do a ritual where I go outside and make an offering to the local nature spirits, and you know, connect to the different elements and say hello to my favorite trees and the hawks and the owls and raccoons. So just all the creatures that I see just in my little tiny, you know, even though I'm in LA, I still have a little backyard, and there's actually quite a bit of like wildlife in this little
There is.
corridor.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think, because, you know, comparatively to living in New Hampshire, but there's so much there. Hummingbirds. So yeah, I love having that moment of really just saying hello to them and thanking them for the support that they give me, and just delighting in their presence. I think that I really sense that they love to just have that kind of delight, or, you know, where you're just sort of absorbing and delighting and enjoying the magic of their being. And they kind of shine a little bit extra and share a little bit more when they feel that
Yeah.
reciprocity.
I love the word delight. It has light right in it. And so
Yeah.
it's of the light. And so you are allowing yourself to be one with the light. So of course they're glowing more, and also you can just see how much more illumined they are because of your awareness, because light is awareness.
Hmm.
That's so beautiful. I'm just
Yeah.
reveling in it. And it's all around us all the time. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I mean, what you're sharing here on the podcast, and the cards and the art, but the fact that you go into your yard and you delight in nature and you say hello to the nature spirits and you say hello to the trees and the animals, that is work on this planet. That positivity is, contributing to the sea of energy. So thank you for that and for amplifying it in the work, your passion too, with the decks that you're doing. I need the witch cats. Oh,
You
that's right.
do.
You did. I can't believe I didn't get it. I
I
knew about it,
know.
and I forgot
know.
about it for a while.
Yeah, the great thing
And it's
about
so
the witch
perfect.
cats too is just like the spirit cats. I didn't know I was making the witch cats, so it was actually paintings that I made over the course of 6 years.
Mhm.
And then I really was like, oh wait, this is actually these cats want to be in another deck, and um, it's 60 cards, that deck, and so I made them so you could actually put them together with the spirit cats. So it's just this like mega
Oh, cool.
108 card magical cat deck. Yeah, so in a lot of I would say not the majority, but there are cats in both decks that are real cats that I've painted, and similarly to what you were saying, is when I work with a physical cat, like a cat that's either here now or has passed on but existed here. Usually, I'll communicate directly with the cat
Mhm.
and ask them how they want to be portrayed, how they see themselves, what energy they want to come out, and it's just so funny and fun to see what their demands and requests are. And then also the like just what specific healing imprint that they have and share. But there's some really funny ones. I painted my own cat. It was one of the last cards I'd painted for the witch cats, and it was the second time I painted her. And she was the first time I painted her, she was a kitten, and this time she was a much older cat and kind of much more established in her space. And she really wanted to be painted from like a really beautiful, colorful sunset sky, but kind of like looking down at the world with like rays coming out of her around her. And I'm like, you're like a kitty goddess in the sky. Like, I love this. Like, it just was like so much color, so wild and magical. And I'm like, oh, I felt like she really came into her energy and claimed it. And I could
Mm.
see that in her, like watching her, because she was a rescue, just like watching her like kind of claim the space and share more of herself and open up
Yeah.
as she felt more and more safe. So
Yeah.
it was really fun to see that, with the things that cats really want. Sometimes they'll really, love their striped tail and want to make sure it's really prominently featured.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, this has to be in
That's
it.
You know what? That's so funny. That happens every now and again. I can think of like 3 times in an animal communication session. It might be a dog or a cat, but I think it's mostly been cats where I'm like, okay, and then she's really proud of her tail and wants me to make sure that I notice her tail, like remote
Yeah,
telepathic communication.
exactly.
And then the human will usually recognize it, like, oh my gosh, I always tell her her tail is amazing.
Yeah,
they're
yeah. No,
so they're
actually the
so
tail
cool.
has come. It doesn't always come up, but every once in a while, it's very important to the cat that their
It's like,
tail is
check out
featured.
my tail. Yeah.
They're
Oh my
like,
gosh, how funny that I just the Balam Foundation has a tailless cat. So he's got
yeah,
like a spirit tail
he does. He
that
does.
they want to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've painted some really cute tailless cats too, where they have just like a little
Yeah.
little puff. It's
Little
really
nub.
cute. Yeah.
What's your kitty's name? The one that you're talking
My
about right
kitty
now.
is Lexi, and that's the name that she had when I first rescued her. Is the name that she came with, and she responded to the name Lexi, so I kept it. But the interesting thing was when it was like within the first week of having her, I tried to like call her into the bed to cuddle with me and sleep with me. And I was calling her by her name, and she had been responding to her name, but she didn't like come. And then I don't know what came over me, but I decided to call her by my childhood cat's name, who's long like passed away, who's a really like good, very close spirit to me. And she came running in and jumped up on the bed. And I was just
Oh,
like, what is happening? It's like really
oh,
magical. Yeah.
oh, that's so
So I feel like
sweet.
there's
Oh, I
definitely
love
like
that.
this through line of connection there. And
Yeah.
she came into my life at a time when I really, really, my husband at the time went away to work in London, and he was only supposed to be gone for a month. And then every like 2 weeks, they kept extending it. So he ended up being gone for a year, but it was like I never knew that it was going to be a year. And so
Oh,
when she
terrible.
came to me, it was actually after I had spent 30 days just painting magical cats. And at the end of the 30 days, like I painted a magical cat every day. And at the end of the 30 days, she came into my life. Someone asked me if I could take her in. She was like, they found her and they wanted to know if I could take her in because they already had like a lot of pets. And I was like, sure, I will. And so she just came into my life and she was such a healing presence because I was having anxiety at night. And then she would just come in and I would just like touch her and she was not in the best situation before either. So it was just like we both were like this really beautiful healing energy for each other.
Oh,
Yeah, now
that's so
we're
beautiful.
besties now.
Yeah, and my husband has had to travel. It's like when you have a partner who you who lives in your house. I used to be single and live alone, and I didn't have but if there's a shift in the energy, then I might get like nervous at night if I have to sleep
Yeah.
in the house without him. So they will. But the thing, depending on like my cats, for just to look at them and they're like everything's fine, then I will
Yeah.
relax because they're so much
Yes,
more sensitive
they
in
are.
every area. Same thing with we both live in Los Angeles with earthquakes.
Hmm.
We had one like a month ago or something like that, and the earthquake, and it's kind of a big. It started like with a big clunk, but it was fine. It wasn't that big of a deal, at least where
Yeah.
I was. I just
Hmm.
looked at my cats, and one of them just barely lifted his head, and I was like, okay, we're fine.
Yeah. He's
Anyways,
like, not much is happening here.
yeah, but no, I knew
I
about this 10
know.
minutes ago. We're good.
For sure.
Yeah. I want to see who's here. We have Kate says that a demanding kitty. Go figure. What a goddess. Yes. Hi, Kate. Thanks for being here. Nicole says that's a beautiful description of your creative process. I completely agree. Kate she's a singer as well as an intuitive and a channel in other ways, so she knows exactly what you're talking about. Alex is here. Hi, Alex. So nice to see you. We were talking about you last night in class. Were your ears burning because of some amazing work that you did with one of the members? And Tracy is here. Hi, Tracy. And hi, Angela. Thank you so much for being here and for saying hi. If you guys have any questions or anything you want to comment on, in the meantime, I pulled us 3 cards, which we're gonna reveal in a little bit, but we'll wait a bit. Do you have a fairy necklace on? I'm seeing.
This is a little butterfly, a little golden
Oh, it's
butterfly.
beautiful.
Yeah. A nature spirit. So in a way, a fairy.
Yeah. Yes,
They're
exactly.
connected.
Butterflies are. Well, hi, Victoria. I've actually, one time I was out meditating and it was actually a wasp. But fairies sometimes will kind of take a ride in the energy of a butterfly because
Hmm.
they have that's why we see them with wings is because their heart energy is expanding.
Mm.
Um, but one time it was actually a wasp, is what I'm remembering. I was meditating, I was sitting outside, and I felt a fairy energy, and I opened my eyes, and there was a wasp there, but
Hmm.
it was like floating. But then when I looked closer, it was a fairy. The legs looked like human legs. They didn't look like little wasp legs, like little,
Yeah.
sticks with kind
Hmm.
of ends on it. They were very human
Mm.
looking. And then the light kind of changed and I was like, am I really seeing this? And it was a feminine energy. And she kind of giggled and she said, yeah, of course. Of course you're seeing it if you want to see it. And I was like, can other people see this? And she said, if you choose to see it, you shall see. And I was like, whoa, because where you see things with your physical, it's not really with your physical eyes, despite your physical eyes,
Yeah.
it's just so remarkable. It's very, it's moving into that astral realm, that liminal space where they are.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I
yeah,
love that.
speaking of,
Like I've had one experience where similar to you where I feel the presence of the fairies a lot and talk to them but there was one experience when I was younger where I feel like I actually saw them and I was like on this hike in New Hampshire by myself. I was probably only like 17 or something and I was hiking up through like the rocks and the trees and there was these just like little and there was a few of them, like these little white, like glowing wings, little fairy creatures. And they were small. They were only maybe like 3 inches high. And there was a couple of them and they just came around me. And I was like, what's happening? Like I always knew fairies were real, but to actually have this moment where I saw them was really surprising. And it felt so just like magical and warm. And I was like, yes, yes, of course, of course. A little
And
moment.
this brings up a question that I hear a lot when people want to connect with, well, spirits of any kind, but when they want to connect with fairies or nature spirits, and how do I see them? But the thing is, it's very much like how you've been talking about, going into nature and saying hello, and looking at the physical world and spiritually, emotionally, lovingly resonating with it, connecting with it. And then the hike you're talking about, and then that other, interdimensional experience showed itself.
Right.
And also mine, because mine was like, I was already meditating, and I don't remember specifically where I was in the meditation, but I was probably somehow appreciating nature. They don't want to overwhelm our natural reality. They love they're co-creating the natural reality. So just go and talk to a tree. Like I can picture little Nicole writing a note and burying it in in the soil by the tree. It's so sweet. We go and just connect with them, and it is happening then, and we have to affirm that it is happening.
Right. And they will start communicating to you. They will, I mean, sometimes I'll just go and, and once you develop a relationship too, you can ask for like help or healing or assistance with things. Sometimes I'll just, if you're having a hard time, you could ask for like support, especially if you've developed a relationship with some of the nature spirits around that you're around you, nearby. But yeah, there was one time where I was at the ocean and I was meditating, and I was in a channeling state, and I was connecting with like guides and teachers and in that space. And I heard a really strong voice that was like, open your eyes, it's time to connect to the ocean. And so I opened my eyes, and out of the ocean, just staring right into my eyes, making eye contact with me, was a seal. In that exact moment, it was just looking up at me, and I was like, it was like the ocean had eyes. It was like, I'm here. I want to connect, like come back down to earth for a moment and we'll make this. And it was really magical. I was like, oh, it was waiting for me.
Oh, a little water puppy.
Yeah, exactly.
Unconfirmed Savage asked, like a pixie or a sprite. Yeah, definitely. I would. I love those words, and the one that I was talking about specifically was more like an air fairy. And how about the ones that, when you were little, with those ones coming all around you?
I feel like those were also more in the air. Like they feel like they were like air and light. They did feel. Like very they had this like very ethereal light quality, like they had a glow to them, this like silvery, almost like a moonlight glow. So yeah, I do feel like they were connected to that. I mean, it really just felt like pure magic to me. Like I felt like they were just embodied magic coming to sort of, I think, maybe affirm a lot of the experiences I was having and just give me this very clear experience that was very undeniable. Especially because in those years, like my teenage years, there was a lot. I think when I was like a little child, I was just so in that more psychic zone, and then I still had those experiences as I was getting older. But there was so much information coming externally that like, no, this is like imagination. This isn't real, like science. This is if it's not scientifically proven, it's not real. So there was kind of this internal conflict between my own experiences that I would have, and then the kind of collective messaging. And so I think that was something that, conditioning. So I think that kind of happened at that time to help me really feel like this was a place that I could be a part of and connect with and communicate with, even if it wasn't matching what was sort of the mainstream culture was telling me. you know? Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. In Western culture, we are actually very, very rare so there's most of the other cultures in the world have a polyphasic paradigm, which means polyphasic means many different states are valuable and valid. And monophasic is what the Western culture is, where it's like it's either awake or asleep and there's nothing in between that is valid. So yeah, it's kind of like, it's unfortunate that we feel so odd for the thing that most of the rest of the world is like, of course your dreams should be telling you things. Of course, when you're in an altered state, that's going to bring you wisdom. And, it's not weird or woo-woo at all. I really don't like woo-woo because I feel like it's diminishing our
me too. Like it feels kind of like
know?
othering. It's just such a
special,
yes, magical place. Like it's kind of beyond. So
yeah,
I agree. I feel like it's diminishing.
Right. Oh, but I just gasped while you were talking because last night we had class. We had our live class in Astral Mastery, and while we were wrapping up class, I was like, oh my gosh. So I channel fairy attunements. I don't know if you've heard me talk about that or not, because I don't know if I've talked about it very much. But anyway, and so last night I was like, this one fairy attunement is showing up, and I couldn't remember the name of it even at the time, and then it just popped in. I'm gonna read it because it was showing up last night because it wanted to be a part of now,
Yay.
and I just found it. So because you're gonna laugh, the very first line. We are the Fae Few, you shall call us Delight. This is called Delight. Yeah.
I love it.
The name of it is Delight the Fae. So I'll read the whole thing. We are the Fae Few, you shall call us Delight. We speak upon you the importance of night. For as you release and decease all your thoughts, all your should-haves, your should-nots, and all of your oughts, it is thence when you fly and you flee and you flow, like a rainbow of light who knows just where to go. We bid you allow us, nay, please allow you, to access your soul who exists in dark blue. We'll greet you each eve as your eyes peep adieu. We'll hold you each moonfall until morning's dew. Release to creation and infill you more, as with ocean's flow from dream shore to shore. There's so much that we've been talking about.
I love it so much. Like gives me shivers. I just like, ooh.
I can't even believe it. Like so much that we were talking about. Delight, the ocean. Oh my gosh, that's wild.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So cool.
One of the things that when I do my offerings in the morning to the nature spirits, I always include I delight in your presence as part of it. And I feel like that's the part that the fairies just love. Like they're like, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, we may have to collaborate.
I know, right?
There was something I wanted to ask. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about the Kickstarter. I want to talk about this is for the new deck. Please tell us all about the new deck and what is the timing. And we have in the comments, or excuse me, not the comments, but we have in the description how you can support this Kickstarter. And so tell us all about it and tell us all about the deck.
Yeah, so it's called Wander Kittens, and they're mini oracle decks. So they are based on the spirit cats and the witch cats, but they're a lot smaller. So I'll show you the little size.
Oh my gosh.
Is like these little miniature
I just got a mini deck. I just got a mini deck of tarot cards, and for some reason, I love it so much because it's small.
And this is actually really great for what I was saying, because one of the things I love to do is actually just go out into nature, go for a hike. You know, I love going to Topanga Canyon, which you probably know, and I used to live there. So I'll go and like hike, and then I'll find a beautiful little nook, like by a little creek or on a rock, and I'll actually bring my cards with me. So these are really light and small, so you can kind of bring them wherever you go. And I did make a whole travel set that is also part of it. So little velvet pouches to hold the cards with a dreaming kitty on them in pink and purple.
Oh, we lost sound. I think your microphone came loose or something. So while Nicole's getting set back in, I'll just have a chat with you guys. So, I know. I have the cards that I pulled. So take your time, Nicole. So the cards that I pulled for us, I have 3. So I had the intention as I was pulling these that it would be for collectively for everyone who is listening to this podcast, and whether it's while we're live or in replay. So you might be listening to this 5 years from now, but the magic of the Spirit Cats knows how to collect all of the intentions and to infuse them into what it is that we are needing today. So I have 3 cards, and I intended for them to be the first card to be the what do I want to call it? Basically the past, but it's more like of the sight of the what's the word I'm looking for? The hindsight. That's the word I was looking for. The hindsight. I've got hindsight. The middle card is insight. And then the last card is foresight. So If you're live or if you're watching the video, you can see the picture, the painting. It's a beautiful, sweet little kitten with a cute little face with blue eyes, and there's a lot of green and brown. It's got a very earthy feel to it with a sweet little face. And so this hindsight card is Cuddles, and it says, "Meet Fluff. She is patiently waiting for you to stop your super important get it done task and give her lots of love. She assures you that her fur is a cloud of softness that will melt your thoughts away. Little Fluff is all about savoring the experience of being alive in your body. Time to disconnect from the digital world and reconnect to the lush, tactile world instead. Stretch like a cat until you quiver. Feel the air on your skin and the earth under your paws. Cuddle in with this kitty and feel her purrs awake in your heart." So again, like the image has those earthen energies and qualities and colors to it. And the second card here is, oh, so beautiful, the watercolor of this kitty. She's much more, she's very, I would say she's a bit more abstract than even the previous kitty. She's got pinks and blues and some flecks of yellow. And she has an ornamental quality to her too. She has like a little bit of a mandala on her breast. And then she's got her third eye kind of presented with a little bit of a symbol. And so this is, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. This is our insight card, and it's Flow, to follow up from the from the ocean's flow that we've been talking about. This says, "Meet Zephyr. She is flexible, flowing, and gentle like the wind, like light and wind." Very much like the fairies you were talking about, air and light fairies. She intuitively responds to the rhythms of the world around her. When a door opens, she walks right through, easy as a breeze. When the door closes, she circles, eddies, and finds a window to slip silently through. She blooms with the spring and knows how to let go with the fall. She is change, and she welcomes change. Her strength comes not through resistance, but through perfect flow, like a river sculpting the rocks, finding and making the space to keep moving. Beautiful. That's our insight. Is it weird for me to read your words back to you?
No. I love it, especially because of the channeling aspect. Sometimes I hear them and I'm like, oh, that's exactly
like,
what I needed.
Cool.
You know, because I think when you're in that channeling space, something just comes through. It's like it's part of you. I feel like it is part of it's moving through you, like you're the instrument. So just like if you were making a painting with a big fat paintbrush or like a little pencil, like it kind of leaves that imprint of like you in this time, in this place, in this form. But then there's something more expansive that's being channeled through you. Yeah. So
exactly.
That's that. And I feel like that's what comes through and then it reflects back. And so sometimes I hear a card of mine that I've written and it's almost like I didn't write it. Like I feel like I'm hearing it to receive it.
Right, because it is so expansive and so it keeps giving. I mean, that's what, just I guess we said, channeling is art. Art is channeling. And, an artist, and you could speak to this, it's almost like the art is never really finished. You just have to stop creating it with your hands. Yeah. But it keeps creating itself.
It does
every time you connect to it.
It does. And I feel like you kind of initiate like the spirit cats and the witch cats. When I started, it was like a world kind of came into being from this intuitive channeling and imaginative exercise, but then it sort of gained a life of its own, and it felt like I was just tapping into that world, and spirit cats were coming through the doorway. So it's this interesting thing where you're like, what did I create it? Is it just coming through? It's kind of like this, back and this flow back and forth. And I've heard that with authors too, sometimes once they write a book that they'll like go back to the place and it's like, what's happened there since I was last there? What's the next thing? And that's how I feel like the spirit cats and the witch cats are like that. I'm like, oh, like what's going on in their world right now? When I tap back in.
Yeah, like the Akashic records of their world. You just tap into that data stream. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, we have one more card in our 3-card pull, and I love this guy. This one, he has a lot more shade to him. He's got some green, like his eyes are green, and there's a little bit of color, but most of it is shade. He's mostly gray and tones of black and white with a little bit of accent of some greens and yellows. and he's so cute. Well, she looks like a girl, and she's got such a sweet little expression on her face, just like, oh, honey. That's kind of what she looks like a little bit. And so this is for our foresight, and this is Road Less Traveled. Meet Silvio Silvermaw. I have to say it again. Silvio Silvermaw. That's the name of this cat. You won't find him. Oh, so you called him a him.
Yeah.
You won't find him on the well-worn paths of habit or normalcy. However, if you brush away the spider webs and circle around the giant trees, you will find Silvio wandering down a path with no paw prints. Wandering down a path. This road less traveled is often obscured by errant wildflowers and ferns, but if you look for it with an open mind, you will see its peculiar winding way. Turn off the main road and try something new, a new hobby, a new belief, a new way of doing something, a new perspective on a familiar situation. If you usually go right, experiment with going left. That's from Silvio. Silvio Silvermaw.
Yeah.
So fun. Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for the messages you brought through with the spirit cats.
Yeah.
Were we finished? Were we still talking about
I'll just
the
tell
Kickstarter?
the Kickstarter. So they are like the mini cards, but the other thing that's very different about them, and there's actually, we unlocked some stretch goals, and the campaign goes through October 30th. And because we unlocked some stretch goals, we already have 4 brand new kitty cards that aren't in the big decks, and there's 4 more, so it could be a total of 8 new cards in those decks. And there's also a little magical dreaming kitty pin that everyone gets now as a free gift when they back the campaign because of the unlocked goals. But the other thing about this deck that is different, and this was something that I was actually, because I work with the channeling space on sort of all levels, like while I'm in the creative flow, but also to guide the entire project and even to guide the business. I work co-creatively with both my guides and teachers, and then also nature spirits together with my higher self. So we kind of work together to align with the direction and the movement. And what I was guided to do with this deck for the messages, instead of just writing more concise versions of the messages, they had me crystallize them into these poetic incantations written in first person that you can read out loud or silently, and they create a palpable internal shift as you read them. And you can use them as part of a meditation, you can use them as an affirmation, you can use them in spell work as part of rituals. And they also, each card has a question for journaling or reflection. So they have this very interactive aspect to them where you really engage with the meaning and embody it through the incantations and the questions, explore self-exploration and how they might interrelate with what's going on in your life. So I think that in that way they do, even though the art and most of them and the keywords are the same as the witch cats and the spirit cats, they do have this other function that makes them more of a companion to those decks. So they and I at first I had resistance when I was, when I channeled that this is what they wanted me to do, because it was definitely seemed like intimidating. It's 108 cards. It's a lot more work to go into that state and kind of create these poetic incantations and just really channel something new that's in a way different, a lot different from what's written in the original decks. But then once I always trust and follow, because I've seen how it plays out in so many areas, and there's always this hidden magic to it. So once I actually embarked on it, I realized, okay, wow, this really ignited my creative fire to do it in this way, because each card became a new revelation to me. And it had this fresh life. And it actually, even though it seemed from my more mental state, it seemed like it was going to be more work in a way, even though it still took more time in a way, it gave me so much in the process, and it had its own energy and its own life that it kind of carried me through, and I rode that wave. And I feel like that's the other thing that channeling can really help with the creative process, is to help direct you in working with your creative fire and really feel what do you need in this moment? Do you need to step away and recharge in nature? Do you need to focus in and really create a sacred, in a very protected container? Because it's not, there's no sort of by rote way there. It's very
Mm-hmm.
organic working with your creative fire. And so I feel like
Yeah.
channeling can see where that is and what will really lead you to have that really come alive so that you can be in the flow state more often,
Yeah.
where you're just naturally in a channeling state.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. I can't
yeah.
remember who it was, but there was some client who is a channel, like is trained and
Yeah.
experienced channel. And we were talking about something, some project or something that she wanted to pull through. And I was like, oh, why don't you channel it? And she was like, duh. And I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
I get it. I hear that from spirit sometimes. Why don't you just channel this? I'm like, oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
Because I'm
like,
so
oh yeah.
conditioned to effort it, you know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
if we have experience, sometimes we forget. Oh, I can just channel it. Or, oh, I can just be creative. I have a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
How can I be creative to help to get this problem solved or my needs met or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's so simple and so profound. So thank you for really helping us to step into the world of your channeling and creative process. Really
Yeah.
amazing. It's so
Yeah.
encouraging too. Like everyone, I feel like so inspired.
Yeah, I feel like channeling it because it's really, it's one way to really connect in with your higher self and your guides. Um, and working with nature is like working with your body and your
Yeah.
capacity and the natural timing of things on earth, like, and how those things flow together. So you can really work with it to help with almost anything. That's like, if you just like get into, and I've been doing this type of channeling for over 20 years, and it's just the longer that I've done it, the more that, um, like everything, I'm like, I can use this for everything. And I've seen how it
Right.
unfolds and how it
Absolutely.
helps me
Uh-huh.
with literally everything, and things
Mm-hmm.
that I could not have predicted the way that they would unfold. And it takes me on, like what they were saying, it takes me on a road less traveled or somewhere where I wouldn't have
Yeah.
necessarily like mentally thought to go. There's always hidden gifts and surprises, and I'm always like, oh, I see what they were trying to do. You know what I mean? Like after, I'm
Yeah.
like, as I trust, so I go even if I don't fully
Yeah.
understand what's going to be there. And then I'm always met with really being like, oh, okay, yeah. I see why you have
And
me go
that,
this way.
yes, because following that passion, following your intuition, following that nudge, it is actually in and of itself the organizing principle, but we can't see it
Hmm.
until we are there. And
Yeah.
this is something that comes up a lot is like, how is none of our business. The how or the whatever's over there or what this means later, that's none
Yeah.
of our business.
Yeah.
We have to keep moving in with the flow of that passion that is embodied, an embodied sense of it. And then we
Yeah.
also have the input from the channeling. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much how
Yeah.
we're supported to be the creators that we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about witch cats? We haven't talked very much about witch
Yeah,
cats yet.
so
Tell us more
witch
about that one.
cats are the second oracle deck, and the way they are meant to be a companion, like a sister deck to the spirit
Hmm.
cats, but the witch cats, they have a little bit of a different energy. I would say they're like a little bit further down. They literally are a bit more witchy. Like they're a little bit further down the rabbit hole. They really are about co-creating with nature, like
Hmm.
working with nature to bring things, that creative energy, the cosmic creator, to help you embody that,
Yes.
and work with the different energies. So some of I would say it's like a little bit more out there, but I love that. And the colors are a bit more wild, a bit more saturated. There's lots of jewel tones. It has this very
Mm-hmm.
like vibrant um, color palette. And the
Hmm.
spirit cats in contrast, but they really go together. They're sisters. The
Yeah.
spirit cats have a very, I would say, like loving, playful, gentle, friendly energy, and
Hmm.
they're all about like compassion and self acceptance and really embodying the full range of the human experience. So
Hmm.
they go together. But yeah, that I feel like the spirit cats have this kind of like love and helping you connect to your intuition, and then the witch cats are that cosmic creator
Yeah.
energy. Really
Move it
stepping
out.
into
Move
your
the
inner
energy out.
witch.
Yes. That's awesome. Now, I want to know, we haven't, I imagine I can feel people wondering, What is your spiritual path? You talked a little bit about, probably like a lot of us, you were obviously very open to your intuitive sensing when you were little, then you shut it down. You said you've been channeling for about 20 years. Just tell us a little
Yeah.
bit more about your practices or your path or your journey
Yeah,
insofar as
yeah.
your spiritual development.
There's been yeah. I uh, have lots of Pisces in my birth chart. I'm
Are
Sun
you?
Pisces, Mercury, and Venus, and I'm very connected since I was little to communicating with spirits and having like I felt like my dreams were half of my life. Like I remember when I was in like fourth grade, we are supposed to write like a little timeline of our life. I was like, I feel like all the things that really happened in my dreams, and I can't write this in this like timeline for school. so the and that's still how it is for me, that my world of my dreams and lucid dreaming and connecting with different guides and teachers and healers in that realm has always been really a big part of my life. When I was in my early 20s, I hit a crisis moment because I think I didn't have any formal tools, and I was having even more of a psychic awakening, but I didn't have any
Mm.
of the tools to really process that. And it created some mental health stress,
Yeah, sure.
catastrophes. But
Hmm.
because of that, I did feel like this pull towards learning meditation and moving
Hmm.
meditations like yoga and Tai
Yeah.
Chi. And that's where I started. And I had always had a physical practice of dance, and it very balancing for me. But at that time, I was in college, and I kind of didn't have as much access to that as I did when I was younger. And so I think without that, I became too like heady, and I was having a psychic
Mm.
awakening at the same time, and I really needed that embodiment. And once I had that, it's things started. Once I started having that, regular meditation practice, um, and the grounding in the body, the
Hmm.
physical
Yeah.
grounding, that helped me to process the opening on a physical level much more. And it was no longer frightening.
Hmm.
And then from that point, I moved out to California because, you have to come to where the other people, a lot of the other
The other others are.
witchies are to learn.
Hmm.
And so I came
Hmm.
out to LA, and I worked at a yoga studio, and I met through there. I started working at this little shop. It's no longer there, but it was in Venice, and it was called Audrey's Good Vibrations. And they worked with flower essences. And they worked with this woman called Michelle Small Wright, who has a garden called Paralandra, where she works with the nature spirits to create the entire garden and then also to create all these flower essences. And so I learned about her and her way of channeling and co-creating with nature through them. And when I was working there, they taught me how to like read like chakras and do like readings and like create like using channeling, create
Hmm.
blends of flower essences for people. And I think just working there and seeing how using this channeling, we use pendulums and muscle testing
Hmm.
and channeling to create these blends for people. And then just working one on one with people and seeing how they would respond. I think having that feedback day after day of really made me see that this was real. Like I came in there with very open mind and
Hmm. Hmm.
like I was drawn to it, but just seeing day after day all of these synchronicities and this healing that was
Yeah.
taking place was really like it just really rooted me into believing in the power of this. And then over time, um, I that channeling. So in the beginning, it was more like I could get yes, no answers,
Hmm.
and I would work with the nature spirits and the guides to co-create certain things. And it was how I brought my husband into my life. I
Nice.
did
Yeah.
a special. They called it soilless garden, so gardening where you're
Mm.
working with nature spirits
Hmm.
and your guides to kind of co-create. But soilless because it's not in the actual ground, but you're still working. It's like the human and nature interaction to create something in the world. Um, but then as I practiced more and more, my meditation practice went deeper and deeper. The channeling just expanded to where I was hearing more,
Hmm.
like just streams of information. It was just like it kept
Yeah.
opening more and more
Yeah.
until and then I at the same time, I was working with my art, and that's what I was actually doing mostly for money, was working as an illustrator at a stationery and gift place. And so I had my art, but I felt like it was a different world than the world of like my channeling, which I was mostly doing for myself and like friends and family. And I just really got this message that it was time for them to completely merge. And that was the initiation into the work that I do now, when they really just became one thing, and there's no longer any delineation between those two worlds.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. First of all, when's your birthday? Because I'm a Pisces as well.
Oh, I'm February 23rd.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's my best friend from high school's birthday too.
Oh, wow. That's fun. Yeah.
And then second of all, Kate, and I would love to see your human design. So
Yeah.
hang out afterward.
Sure.
I want to look at your chart because I want to see if you have what nature gates you have.
Yeah. I'm
clearly
curious.
do
I don't
have
know
the
that
nature.
much about human design, but I know a little bit, but I'm curious for sure.
But you know your birth time, so
Yeah, I know my birthday.
Okay,
I
cool.
know my full like astrology chart inside and
Oh,
out.
okay, yeah, all right. Kate is asking if you could pull a card from a card from the Witch Cat deck.
Oh, yes.
Would
Let
you
me
pull a card
see
for
if
us?
I-
That would be amazing. Thank you, Kate.
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me grab it.
Sure, she's going to go grab them for us. So I'll go ahead and put myself on the screen. Oh, wait, no, there she is. She's back already. So yeah, I'm just, this card came through and it's so beautiful because I love this color combination on this one. With the kind of green and gray and then the lavender. Oh, this is in the Spirit Cat deck still, but this one is Warrior Cat. Oh, beautiful. Look at those.
So these are the witch
So
cats.
beautiful.
So you can see some of them have really brilliant colors.
The jewel tones, like
Yeah.
you said. Saturation.
This one's a good for autumn.
Oh, yeah. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's one she has right now, and it looks like my barn. By the way, that card, can we pull that card? That's the card.
This
We're
one?
pulling it.
Yes.
Yes, because it's my Barnabas.
Oh.
My Barnabas, he's a black cat, and he loves to wear scarves. You put a
Oh
scarf
my
on him, and he
gosh.
tries to keep it on him.
That's amazing. Well, here he is.
That's our card.
He has a message. So this one is
love it.
one small magical step. Meet Glimfeather Practicum, slayer of the overwhelm. Leaving the intricacies of his sacred path to spirit, he focuses on what is right before him. He rifles through his grimoire, brimming with simple practical magic, until his intuition points to that one little action with the power to shift something big. What small step is calling to you right now? Meditating with a crystal, touching a tree, lighting a candle, dancing to your favorite music, or even just taking a few deep breaths. Trust in the magical of an unfolding that will spring from this one simple action.
That's making me cry because my Barnabas is the most magical. He's the best person in the world. If you're wondering who the best person in the world is, he lives in my house and he's wearing a black cat's suit.
Oh,
But he's had some health challenges lately, so that's that. I'm taking that message in for how I can support him in his well-being. So, how beautiful!
Yeah.
Wow, so amazing.
yeah.
So we have the Kickstarter again, everyone. That Kickstarter is until the 30th or 31st.
30th. It's 30th. It ends at 30th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So yeah, I put some magic numbers in there for fun.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, the actually my guides had me do the entire Kickstarter as an extended ritual. So yeah, it's just every aspect of it. They had me infused with different pieces of the elements or little hidden things, and lighting candles every morning. I have an altar for it. So they really it's like even the business aspect of like running a Kickstarter, they're like, no, this is actually, the whole thing is going to be a ritual, so they always take things into a more magical container.
Okay, I have to share with you. I told this to my co-teacher on the witchcraft workshop that I, announced at the beginning, and Stephanie. I told Stephanie about this. My dear friend and an amazing intuitive, Carson Doherty. I asked her. I was like, "Hey, can you can you tap in intuitively about this witchcraft workshop before I even, released it? And she was like, yeah, they're just like saying like, make the whole thing a ritual, make it sprinkle like, and let it be witchy. It's like
Oh my
what you're
gosh!
describing. And that was
That's
seriously, I told
exactly
Stephanie about it like 2 days ago. So
yeah.
Carson, if you're listening.
Yeah, like it was interesting because when I sent the first email out about it to my newsletter list, and when I was writing the little sign off, I'll usually write a little poetic thing, and for some reason I wrote, with light breezes rustling through the trees or something, Nicole, from Nicole, and then when I got the message that it was supposed to be a ritual, and I started thinking about how I work with the elements, and if you cast a circle, with the east, as you go through the directions, they're connected to elements, you can cast a circle. And I thought, wow, what if I like cast a circle with the 4 emails, because I started with air, which is the east. And so then and there was already planned and written 4 emails to actually launch the Kickstarter. And I was like, I think it's already happened. Like the ritual began without me even consciously knowing it. And then I received the message. And so each email I went through the directions and the elements and infused that into the writing. And I was like, this
so
is
good.
so, I think it helps to just not, it's like even these things that you could look at as mundane, like there's so much room in them to even make them something, that really
That's why this podcast is called Charmed Life. It's not
Yeah.
because I have a charmed life. It's because life is charmed. Life itself is magic. That's the whole reason why it's called that.
I love that.
You just made me think I set up this studio, that I have and everything, and this place that I sit to teach and to do the podcast and everything. It is due east. I get a compass here to do my circumambulation. And if I'm going to demonstrate circumambulation, calling the corners, I start east, which is great. Just happened. I mean, I didn't plan it that way, but it totally works out for teaching, as far as demonstrating.
It does.
I mean, it would work if they had to start by looking at my butt, but you know what I mean? Like we would make it work. But it just happened that I'm due east, for, drawing that in, because we always start from the east when we're circumambulating. So that's
I love that.
cool.
I feel like once you start engaging in that sort of layer of reality, it kind of reaches back to you. And there's all of these things that happen that you don't necessarily consciously, like you didn't consciously decide to set it up this way, but it was like set up this way specifically because you're in that state. It's like this, it's matching that energy. And so I feel like that's what happens. That's
flow.
why I wrote that. And I was starting the ritual. I just didn't have all of the information yet about what it was going to be, but I was in that intuitive space and I was already starting it.
Yeah. And just talking about practical magic, like, for example, when I'm creating like a graphic image or something in Canva and I want to adjust something to, like how much I want this effect, what percentage of something, I'll be like 33.
Yeah.
I'll just put it 33 and it'll be perfect. Instead of like having to trial and error it so much.
Yeah.
And then also it just helps me to remember next time I'm going to go and do that same task, that same creative piece. I'm like, it's probably 33 or it's 22. 33, perfect. That's it.
Yeah.
So again, it's practical.
It is. And when I'm when I'm painting, like there'll be times where I'm just completely in the flow of painting. And I feel like that is channeling, as we were talking about. And then there's moments where you hit like a pause and you feel like, I don't know which direction to go. Like, does it need this color? Does it need this color? Do I need to make the sky darker? Do I need to make this lighter? Like you kind of feel like you're in this like hovering place. Yeah. And I use channeling to direct me in those points because I feel like when you're in the flow, you're already in that state. And then you have those pause moments, but it always, like, I think it helps to push you out of just like habits and ruts too, and really like open you up to what your soul wants to explore in that moment. So yeah, I love using that, like engaging in that aspect of channeling in between the complete flow states, and it kind of just dips you right back into the flow.
Yeah, it helps you to, you get a reset. It's like both things. It's kind of like you said, it opens you up more. And then also at the same time, it's us initiating, we are a part of the process. This is something that some people, when they're starting to explore spirituality, they need to detox or decondition from, is that this isn't religion. This isn't like God says, or this book says, or, this outside authority, this is what you believe and this is what, you do. You're equal on the team. And if anything, you're you're sovereign and you're actually the primary one in the physical reality about
Yeah.
it. So in that moment where you're like, you have a pause and it's like, now Nicole, you do it. Now you
Yeah.
start the channeling state.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Reminding
exactly.
you that,
Exactly.
that's
I
what I
do.
see
I
about it.
feel like my like nature spirit and spirit team, when I'm working with them, I feel like they are like what you were saying there. When I'm working in the physical realm, like making a painting, writing something, they are taking into account my passions, my desires, my where my creative fire is, and they're just helping me to really amplify it and really direct it and then flow with the world around me and share what needs to be shared when it's like the perfect timing to be received by the people who need that. So it's like they really are this like amazing support team. Like I feel like they're not like, oh, just get out of the way. Like I have my thing that I want to do.
course
No,
not.
they're like,
But
okay, this is we're expressing this and we're helping you to really bring this forward. Because I feel like the more that I've worked with channeling in my art, the more that I've embraced myself and just like self-love on this plane and this form that I am in now, because they're like, that's where the juice is. So like keep going into that. Like the thing that really feels just natural to you, that you're just really drawn to, that you love to look at, or the colors that call to you, instead of holding back or wondering what other people will think about them. Your team is always behind you, kind of like giving you this friendly little guidance, friendly little nudges, just further into that. So yeah, it's magical.
Oh my gosh, we could be here all day long. And you have to come back. We have to do tours of the witch deck, and then we also want to do the new deck. So just reminding everyone, and your website is just Nicole Piar, and it's just NicolePiar. Did I spell it all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
.com,
and all of the links are in .com.
Yeah.
All of the links are in the description.
Yeah.
Is there any last thing you want to share with us before we wrap today?
You can also go to ghostkitten.com, because that's my Ghost Kitten alias. I just loved being on here. It's so wonderful to connect to someone who also connects to this realm and to connects to the fairies and has seen a fairy too. I love
it. More than one, but
exactly,
for sure.
Exactly. And I feel like if you're curious, like if you want to connect with that fairy on energy, like my decks are so interconnected with nature. So it has such a strong presence. There's nature spirits in there as well. A lot of the cards are connected to that. So. Yeah.
I want to show you an interesting light anomaly. So you see over my shoulder here, that wall hanging, it kind of looks like 4 fish.
Yeah.
And it flickers sometimes on its own. And I know, like when it first started doing it, it's like totally fairy energy. And sometimes I'll leave them on and they'll go off by themselves without the batteries running out, and all 4 of them. And then other times I'll have them turned off, 100% positive. I turn them off, and they will come on, all 4 of them by themselves. They're little battery-operated tea lights, so there's no reason why they would come on.
Yeah.
But then there's this other optical illusion that happens. So watch it right now as I put my hand through it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It looks
flicker.
like they flash. Yeah.
And I know it's a camera anomaly, but they're like, no, we're riding the light.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
I
both.
love that. Yeah. They're just like want to wink at us, There's
exactly.
There's a little, they have a little bit of a playful mischief energy too. That's like fun, so fun to connect to.
Well, Nicole, this is so wonderful. And I want to keep collaborating, keep connecting, keep having you on. And
I would love that.
And I enjoy your work so much. And thank you again for reaching out so many years ago. And I'm so happy that we actually got to advance our relationship today.
Me too. It's beautiful.
Thank you for all the work you're doing. And so everyone, that's this episode. Thank you all for shining your light on our beautiful world. And thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.